Stop apologizing. You're not lazy. You're a highly evolved, ridiculously efficient problem solver whose brain has simply figured out a better way to do things. And science, my friends, finally agrees. For too long, we've been told that success comes from grinding, from hustling, from waking up at 4 a.m. to chug kale smoothies and run marathons before the sun even thinks about it. Meanwhile, you're hitting the snooze button for the third time, pondering the philosophical implications of whether you really need to get up for that coffee, or if the universe will simply deliver it to your bed. And you know what? You're probably going to invent the drone that does it.
This video isn't about giving you an excuse to binge watch another season of that show you totally meant to finish. This is about validating a fundamental, often misunderstood truth about human intelligence, energy, and the surprising power of strategic inaction. They call it laziness. I call it optimizing for maximum impact with minimum effort. And before you try to click away and go back to your spreadsheets, understand this. The very act of avoiding pointless busy work could be the smartest thing you do all day. What if the most productive path is often the one of least resistance? What if the real secret to getting ahead isn't working harder, but brilliantly doing less? Let's dive into the fascinating and frankly hilarious science behind why your inner slacker might actually be a certified genius. First up, let's talk about the brain's biggest obsession: energy conservation. Your brain, that squishy 3-pound supercomputer between your ears, is incredibly greedy. It consumes about 20% of your body's total energy, even though it's only 2% of your body weight. That's like a tiny, demanding roommate who eats all your snacks. So your brain is constantly looking for shortcuts, for ways to be more efficient, to save precious glucose for when it really matters, like figuring out why that one sock always disappears in the laundry.
This isn't about being weak. It's about being evolutionarily smart. Think about our ancestors. The hunter who chased every single squirrel, every single rabbit, exhausting themselves pointlessly, probably didn't fare as well as the one who patiently waited for the perfect moment to strike, conserving energy for the truly big game. Your laziness is a modern echo of that ancient, survival-driven efficiency. You're not trying to avoid work, you're trying to avoid unnecessary work. You're trying to find the path of least metabolic resistance. Consider this: highly intelligent people are often more prone to boredom with repetitive tasks. This isn't a character flaw, it's a cognitive signal. Your brain is essentially shouting, "Hey, this is a waste of my processing power. I could be inventing cold fusion or thinking about pizza right now." This boredom often leads to a desire to automate or delegate. Think about all the modern conveniences we have today. Who invented the remote control? Someone incredibly tired of getting up to change the channel. Who invented the dishwasher? Someone who thought there has to be a better way than scrubbing these slimy plates by hand. These weren't driven by boundless energy, but by a profound genius level aversion to pointless effort. Which brings us to the default mode network, or DMN. This is your brain's idle state, the background hum when you're not actively focusing on a task. It's what happens when you're staring blankly out the window, taking a shower, or, yes, procrastinating on the couch. For years, scientists thought this was just brain static, wasted processing power. Turns out it's a superhighway for creativity, problem solving, and future planning. When you're lazy, when you're letting your mind wander, you're actually giving your DMN the freedom to connect disparate ideas, to form novel solutions, and to consolidate memories. This is where Archimedes had his eureka moment in the bathtub, not while hunched over a scroll. This is where Newton supposedly got hit by an apple and figured out gravity, not while meticulously calculating trajectories. It's in these moments of apparent inactivity that true breakthroughs often occur. Your boss sees you staring at the ceiling, thinking you're slacking. You're actually engaging in advanced cognitive restructuring. You're practically meditating your way to the next big innovation. You're not being lazy, you're incubating genius. And speaking of innovation, let's talk about the art of effective procrastination. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of procrastination where you end up submitting a half-baked report because you spent 3 days watching cat videos. I'm talking about the strategic procrastination, the kind practiced by people who inherently understand cognitive load and decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is real. Every single choice you make throughout the day, no matter how small, what to wear, what to eat, which email to open first, drains your finite mental energy. By the end of the day, your ability to make good decisions is severely compromised. Smart, lazy people instinctively minimize these trivial decisions.
Think about people like Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg, famous for wearing essentially the same outfit every day. Was it a fashion statement? Maybe. But it was definitely a brilliant move to conserve mental energy for the decisions that actually mattered, like whether to put a tiny, barely noticeable notch on the top of your phone screen. These people weren't just simplifying their wardrobes, they were optimizing their brains for peak performance by avoiding unnecessary mental taxes.
The truly lazy genius will delay a task not out of irresponsibility, but to see if it actually needs to be done, or if someone else will handle it, or if a more efficient solution presents itself. They understand that some problems solve themselves if you just give them enough space. Or, failing that, the looming deadline creates a sudden, intense focus that cuts through all the fluff and gets to the core of the problem faster than if they had started days ago. They aren't avoiding the work, they're optimizing the timing of the work. Let's be honest, nobody truly wants to work harder. We want to achieve more, certainly, but we want to do it in the smartest, most efficient way possible. The constantly busy person often conflates activity with productivity. They're like a hamster on a wheel, expending massive amounts of energy to go nowhere fast. The lazy person, on the other hand, is constantly asking, is there a shorter path? Is there a better tool? Can I get someone else to do this? Or better yet, can I automate this entirely so I never have to do it again? This isn't laziness, it's an inherently entrepreneurial mindset. It's the drive to streamline, to innovate, to find leverage. Think of it this way. A truly lazy person wouldn't spend hours trying to manually organize a massive spreadsheet. They'd spend 30 minutes learning how to write a macro or an Excel formula that does it instantly, saving them potentially hundreds of hours over their lifetime. That initial lazy investment in learning a shortcut pays dividends far beyond what the busy bee, painstakingly entering data cell by cell, could ever imagine. The lazy person is playing the long game, while the busy person is stuck in the immediate grind.
So next time someone calls you lazy, smile. You're simply operating on a higher plane of cognitive efficiency. You're not avoiding work, you're avoiding stupid work. You're not slacking off, you're optimizing your brain for creative breakthroughs and energy conservation. You're not being unproductive, you're giving your default mode network the quiet space it needs to cook up your next brilliant idea. The world needs more people willing to question why things are done a certain way, people who are driven by a deep, almost spiritual aversion to unnecessary effort. Because those are the people who ultimately build the tools, create the systems, and discover the solutions that make everyone's lives easier. The so-called lazy ones are the true innovators. They're the ones who look at a problem and think, how can I never have to deal with this again? So I have to ask, do you think this approach is a blessing or a curse? Let me know in the comments. And if you learned something new, hit like and subscribe for more insights.